Welcome to the Sober and Wellness Podcast. If you're a businesswoman seeking to elevate your life and unlock your full potential, you are in the right place. I am your host, Abigail Padro, and I am passionate about helping you achieve your next level. We will dive into honest conversation about sobriety, how faith can be a powerful anchor. My goal is to empower you to become the best version of yourself and excel in business, relationship, and beyond. Let's embark in this journey together, and I will provide you the tools and inspiration you need to live an alcohol-free life. Welcome back, friends, to the Sober and Wellness Podcast. I am your host, Abigail Padro. And today, you guys are in for a special treat. I have my friend here, Steph. And Steph will be giving her story, how it's been being alcohol-free. So welcome, Steph. How are
Hi,
you?
thank you for having me. I'm doing well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining the podcast. This is our second episode.
Exciting.
Yes, it is. So let's just jump right in, and we want to hear how's your story? What made you start in this journey of being alcohol free?
Sure, be happy to share. My recovery story is a long one. Um, so I was introduced to recovery through Alcoholics Anonymous. So in AA, when we tell our story, there's a little format we follow. We tell what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. And that's simple for me to remember, so I'm going to stick to that. So just that little format. So Um, just like quick overview, I'm the oldest of four kids. I was raised in the church. My parents were pastors, have been pastors my whole life. I have a very close family, me and my siblings. And I say that to say because I was very sheltered. I was very sheltered growing up, and I would say I didn't in the church that I grew up in, alcohol was like strictly forbidden. And so, I mean, it was like equivalent to like sex before marriage, like no drinking, no drugs, off the table, like not even socially. So, of course, I think somewhere deep inside of me that made me want to try it even more. So, when I moved out and I left for college. So I was 18 when I had my first drink. And by some standards, that's a little late. Some it's a little early, but I had my first drink at 18, and I went to a Halloween party with some some girls from church, and I got drunk for the first time. And honestly, Abby and everybody listening, my relationship with alcohol from the first time was never normal. I know now, never normal. The second that I felt that feeling of being drunk, I think that I have been longing for that ease and that the comfort for me that came with that since that first time until I found recovery. But I think that's always what I was chasing. So um a big part of my story and a big kind of where life kind of surprised me a little bit um was when I was 18, or so around the same time I realized I was gay. And with my past in the church, that was terrifying to me. um because I'm also someone who I'm just kind of an honest person as is. And so I felt like at some point I knew I was going to have to tell my family. I knew I was going to have to tell my church family, all my church friends. That was my whole life. Church, it revolved around church, church camp, you know, at church Sunday morning, Sunday night, sometimes Tuesday nights for Bible study, Wednesday nights, it was always church. And I knew that I probably wouldn't be accepted. So that really kind of fueled my drinking a lot in those early days. I did come out. Uh, it did not go well it didn't go well initially with my family at all, or the church. And it was a really painful experience. Um, this was a long time ago. I was 18. I'm 38 now. It's been 20 years. So, and it still chokes me up. So it was a really painful experience for me. And it was one of the first times that I had considered taking my life, because just that level of abandonment that I felt and betrayal. And I didn't have any coping skills to handle it, or I just felt so alone. And I felt like I didn't have that community anymore, that church community and the family community. So I turned to alcohol, and that's really kind of what fueled and has fueled my drinking a lot since then. So fast forward, um, I never drank normal. Like like I told you, from the first drink, I gave a guy at work money, and he bought liquor for me, and I went and hid it in the closet at my church house that I lived at, like weird stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And never really drank socially. I mostly, for the most part, always drank alone or just at home. And when I was 24 is when I was introduced to recovery. I had started therapy for the first time, and I really, really struggled with my mental health because of alcohol and because of underlying mental health struggles. And I just totally used alcohol to cope. I'll probably talk about this later a little bit, but something that I've learned that happens to me when I drink, one, I can't stop. Two is it it affects my mental health so, so much. And ultimately for me, when I drink, it if I keep drinking the way that I do, it always kind of leads me to the same like self-destructive, really bad place mentally.
Wow. Yeah, that's deep right there, going through all those emotions, right? And that's such a young age when we're still trying to figure it out ourselves.
Yeah.
Um, I'm so sorry that you had to go through that, right? And feeling all that pain. I cannot even imagine what it is that but what I see for what you're telling me, basically you were using alcohol like a coping mechanism to numb the pain.
Yeah.
Okay, so I see
Yeah.
how the relationship already started like with the wrong foot.
Yeah. It was never normal.
Okay, and
And
what made you realize that okay, this is not normal? Do you remember what made you think about that?
yeah, I mean, obviously I didn't know it at the time, but I had just started going to therapy, and the therapist suggested that I go to an inpatient rehab center, and I looked at her like she had 5 heads. I was like, "What? What do you mean? It's not that bad." She's like, "Well, it is." Based on what you're telling me. And that was my introduction into recovery. Actually, that day, it was one of those times where I had been drinking for months and months and months and months on end, and I was feeling suicidal again because that's where alcohol takes my brain, and I was just ready to give up again. That's when I was 24, and I couldn't get a hold of it, and I thought I was worthless, and so I walked into this rehab center, and I ended up getting Baker acted. Well, you know what that means because we're in
Yes.
Florida. But for people who aren't in Florida, involuntarily kind of committed because you may be a harm to yourself or others. So you're on like a 72-hour psych hold or something equivalent. So um, I actually, at that day that I walked in, I have a complicated relationship with God and all of that, but I do believe in divine intervention because that day I met a woman who has completely changed my life. Sorry, I didn't expect to get
No, it's
emotional, but it
it's
was the
okay.
therapist that I was assigned to when I went to rehab. And long story short, I ended up being in therapy with her for many, many, many years, and still to this day reach out if I need help. And so I haven't thought about that in a while, like those little seeds that are planted so long ago. So went to rehab. Rehab introduced me to the 12 steps and Alcoholics Anonymous. And I got really involved in the recovery community in Tampa, in the Tampa area of Florida. And I mean, it became my life. I loved AA. I went from a pretty regimented church, like where we wore uniforms to every service, to I just jumped right into AA because it can it and I love AA, but it can be kind of dogmatic sometimes, some people. And there's a rule, or not rules, but there's 12 steps, and I'm a good rule follower. So it was
Yeah.
a great fit. It was a great fit, and I struggled on and off with sobriety those first few years, but I built a community, and I built some solid friendships, and made some of the best friends and best memories of my life. And so I spent most of my 20s sober, the end of my 20s, kind of, on and off for the most part. I would like be sober for a year and then drink for a couple months, and then be sober for 6 months and drink for a week.
Yeah.
And then something happened in 2014, and I had relapsed at that point, and I had been drinking for months and left AA. My significant other at the time was out truck driving, so I was alone, just working and being alone, and I drank a lot, and I made some really bad decisions that led to me getting sober. And on November 11th, 2014, and that was a big. That was my sobriety date. I was sober for almost 8 years.
Wow, 8 years.
Yeah.
That's quite that's a long time, especially at that age.
Yeah,
Which,
it was fantastic. It
a lot of people
completely
at that
changed my
age
life.
cannot even fathom the thought of not having alcohol in their lives. Even though we have seen a shift with the new generation now because of the whole sober movement. But back then, I think it's the same thing that's happening with cigarettes at one point a long time ago.
Mhm,
We kind of getting in that route. But yeah, that's
right.
amazing that you were doing 8 years at that age. And that was with the help of AA the whole time. You said
Yeah.
you think that's what helped?
Oh, yeah, I was very much in therapy constantly, and I was very involved in AA and the program. I mean, in the beginnings, I went to 7 meetings a week, multiple meetings a day sometimes. I worked the 12 steps. I had a sponsor. I sponsored other people occasionally. It was my whole life, and I loved it. Um, yeah, so it was great, and then COVID happened.
Oh,
Yeah,
mic drop, right? But
yeah.
not for a good thing. Okay, and that's
So
what made you get back to drinking. Was it COVID?
sort of. So I think that it was a slow unraveling,
Mhm.
and only in the past year of sobriety, this time, and being on Reframe and like learning how the brain works and learning all this, I think it was a really long time coming. But in hindsight, so the first year of COVID, everything shut down, right? And I have side note, I have kind of a really bad OCD with like health stuff, health anxiety. I've been under treatment for it for a long time, so I'm okay now, but it wasn't as in check at the beginning of COVID.
Huh.
Um, like, so I was terrified to go anywhere. I was terrified to get it. I have asthma, and I just knew that I was going to get COVID, and so I didn't go. We didn't have in-person meetings at first, but then people started going back to in-person meetings after, I don't know, 6 months, a year, whenever the vaccine came out, and I just didn't. I didn't feel comfortable. I felt scared, and then I think eventually I felt better about it. But I think by that point I had started using it as an excuse. I got complacent, and it took like 2 years of kind of slowly it weaning off and me backing out of my recovery a little bit, that before I knew it, I was telling myself, huh, maybe I'm fine now. Maybe I can drink now normally. And I feel like I had some solid reasons because I had changed a lot. I was in my mid 30s at this point. I had been through at least 8 years of therapy. I had worked the steps. I was solidly sober. My whole life had changed for the good. I wanted to live, you know? So I thought maybe now that all those things have changed for me, when I drink, I won't, drink to die. I won't drink to harm myself. Maybe I'll drink like a normal person, right? And so that thought is kind of what got me out there completely. I was like, all right, I'm going to try it because I had that space, because of COVID. It
Yeah.
wasn't front of mind all the time. So I
Mhm.
think that that's kind of sort of what led to my relapse.
Yeah, I hear a lot that they talk a lot about like exactly what you're saying. Like before you grab that one drink again, it's been a process. Like you already made it in your mind, by the time you grab it, right? And I think
Yeah.
that one of the key points is isolation, and we start backing out for what was working. For me, I don't have any AA background. Actually, I think it's because I don't like the labeling of saying, "Hi, my name is Abigail Padro and I'm alcoholic." That just makes me cringe.
Hmm.
But
Yes.
I do believe that a lot of us that maybe don't want to put the labels, that doesn't mean that you don't have an alcohol disorder in the sense of I'm a binge drinker. So I don't drink. I'm not your daily drinker. I am not a person that drinks to do like harm myself or anything like that. But I am that person that once I grab one, I want to have fun. I am the party girl. I'm the fun girl. But I will consume anywhere from 6 to 10 drinks easily. And
and I will be able to manage in a way. Like I will not be wasted like on the floor, but at the same time, I'm killing myself inside. Imagine how much your liver has to work, your brain. And one of the things that I have seen is a lot of people don't understand the damage that they do to their brain when they drinking. We think I've always say, and I'm going to continue to say this all the time in this podcast. We think about the liver. Liver is the thing that people associate, right? Like cirrhosis and all of these things. But the fact that your brain is being damaged, it seems crazy to me. And one of the things that's since learning all the neuroscience behind what it does, it makes such a difference in in the way you act. Or at least if I'm gonna go ahead and make that choice of drinking again, I'm like, why do I want to put that poison in my body? I'm about to be 16 months alcohol free. And one thing that scares me to death, it's I don't even want to do that. Like have that one drink. Like, okay, I can, if I wanted to, because I've had those thoughts. They don't come often, but you're like, yeah, well, I can have a couple because see, I don't want one. So I'm already saying,
What's the point?
What's the point? Exactly. People sometimes don't understand. People that don't have that issue don't understand. Well, if you only care about one, you're not really a drinker, right? That's what I say.
But I either want none or I want like 12 minimum.
So. It's gonna go places. So yeah,
that's why
I
we're
don't
here.
allow myself. Yeah, exactly. All of this that I'm creating, like doing the podcast, having the community, like Reframe, having friends that they have become my friends. All of that is what keeps me grounded. What would you say that it's helping you now? Because I was AA. Are you still doing AA or are you doing different things?
Not really. So I went back. Well, I'm doing mostly Reframe and the community there. But do you want me to talk about like getting sober this time now, or just what I'm doing right now?
Like, let's go back. We were still back in the.
I was still.
Yeah, no, you were. But let's go back to the. It
Okay.
was COVID, and you went back to drinking.
And then I went back to drinking. So I sorry, my mind works chronologically, I think.
I love it.
So at first it was okay, sort of. Like I was drinking too much, but I was all fun. It was like all fun and games, and I was drinking alone. But I was also sometimes drinking with other people socially. I wasn't hiding it at first. I wasn't doing anything shady, you know. From the outside, it looked manageable. It was still like now that I know what's considered normal or however many drinks women are supposed to have a week, it's insane to me how much I was drinking. And to touch on what you were just saying, that I had no idea the damage I was doing to my brain. I'm still healing for sure. It doesn't feel as quick as it used to be. I had no idea the damage I was doing to my brain. I thought about the mental damage, like mental health damage in my liver, but so anyways, at first it was kind of okay. But then life happened and I had my father got really sick, and that really rocked my world and rocked my family's world. And then I was going through a divorce at the time, selling a home that I had bought with my ex together. It was just a really painful time in life. And that's when I started hiding it again. And that's when I started doing kind of those, sneaky behaviors, drinking more than I'm telling anybody that I'm drinking, hiding stuff within stuff, taking a few shots here so nobody knows, how much I've really been drinking. And to make a year and a half relapse really short, because I was only out drinking a year and a half before I met you, and that community, it escalated very quickly, and I was drinking worse and more than ever before. I was doing things, irresponsible, reckless things that I swore I would never do. And I had a few, I would say 6 months into drinking, I was already trying to stop, and I was like, dang, I can't. And I was in that same place again, and it brought me to that same dark place, and I just couldn't see a way out again, And that's when I downloaded, I went back to therapy, and then I found the Sober app, and the community there and the meetings there, and it saved my ass. I had a really special coach that helped me in the beginning along the way, like daily checking in, and I don't know how to I don't know how to describe what happened and how I was able to get sober this time, other than I got in enough pain, you know. I got in enough pain and I got desperate enough, and I think I just really realized in my heart of hearts that this is what happens when I drink. It's never going to be any different. My
Mm-hmm.
brain is lying to me every time it says it is. And I, got on my knees and asked a God that I don't believe in, please help me. And I tell you what, the next morning, and I haven't had a drink since, and I haven't had a desire to drink since. And that was March 11th, 2024. So I just celebrated a year last month, again, sober.
Congratulations. I have to say congratulations. Yay. That's
Thank you.
awesome. I was in that meeting when you said it that you were celebrating your year. So
Oh,
that was amazing. Um yeah, I totally understand a lot of as you know, my faith, I do believe in God, and um I can openly say that I know that the church, as they do some good, there's been churches that also have done a lot of damage, right? And what I tend to tell people is what we need to understand, that God is it's a relationship with us. We are the church. He is inside of you, not in a building, not in a pastors and everybody else, like the whole monarchy kind of situation. They're still human, right? That's why Jesus has to come and do the thing. So, and sacrifice himself so we can have a relationship with him. So I have to just say it. He does love you. I think sometimes, especially, I do understand with the whole gay thing and all of that, there's always so much controversy and stuff like that. But you know what? We are no one to judge. All humanity struggles with sin. Some of them are more noticeable than others. So people tend to judge, but they forget they have three fingers looking to their side. So I always say, you know what? Don't condemnation can keep you away from the Lord. Just because, like, well, this is the path I show, screw it. If I'm going, whatever. And then that has to do a lot with the situation. But I just have to say that I really believe in him and that he still loves you.
thank you.
And what would we say? What would you say? Can you describe the early days of sobriety once you decided to, okay, this is not for me? I did 8 years. You were able to compare apples to apples, right? Like your 8 years of sobriety to a year and a half of a destructive path. How
Mhm.
was the first couple of days in sobriety? So for those of of us, or people out there that are thinking, oh my God, this is impossible. How was it for you?
It was hard.
Uh-huh.
It was hard. I've had a lot of day ones, week ones, month ones, a lot. And this time was no different. It was hard, but what's helped me what helped me get through it was constant meetings, community, reaching out, distracting myself, drinking a lot of water, and sleeping. If you can sleep, sleep.
Right, because once you take alcohol, I think they say, by the science, I think it's 4 or 5 days for you to start getting back to your a good sleep. Um,
Yeah.
I know for some people it's more, but sleeping is one of the things that regulates your body, your emotions. It is something very important. So then you were sleeping a lot. Do you do any hobbies, anything new, or were just your home? Like, how did that look?
Yeah, last time when I was sober before I was like, well, I'm bored. So I thought I would get some hobbies.
Uh-huh.
So I tried a bunch of different things, painting, which I enjoyed, but it wasn't really my thing. But I found out that I love fishing. So in sobriety, I have learned to fish, and I fish almost every day
Wow,
because I get to be
that's
outside.
interesting.
I love fish and nature and snakes and alligators, and I love all that stuff. And so that's what I spend most of my free time doing, like when I'm not working.
Oh my God. So you have to like get the hook, put the little whatever you call that, and you actually
Lure.
get to fish all the time. Like you caught.
I don't always catch fish. No.
Okay. No. Okay. So
Sometimes.
you like to be in nature. I think I could see
Yeah.
how relaxing, and you could be with your thoughts, and
And
I've
I do a
never
lot
done
of
it.
walking, so I'm like walking while I'm fishing, like around a pond or something. So it's become kind of almost meditative, some parts of it. So
Uh-huh.
I love it. That's my biggest hobby.
Okay. And what were like, let's see, what would be the most surprising things that you discover in sobriety about yourself? Is there anything?
Yes. Um, I did a survey, or was it a survey? It was like a strengths and values survey,
Uh-huh.
and I did it with a coach, and I found out that my most number one strength is honesty and authenticity.
I
And
love
learning
that.
that about myself, yeah, I was like, ugh, that's boring. And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, that's really powerful. Like,
Uh-huh.
and then I started thinking about it more, and like, I think that's one of the reasons why it was so important for me to like tell my family when I realized I was gay,
Uh-huh.
stuff like that, because I feel the need to present as my most authentic self. It's all I know how to be. So that was surprising to me in a good way, in a really good way.
That's amazing. Those are two amazing qualities right there. I think we live in a day and age now where we all trying to find our own, or authentic
Yeah.
self, because we are bombarded with so many things. We compare ourselves with so many people, and there's so much information out there that's constantly telling you got to be this way or if you're that way. Now it's funny because like if you eat this is good, if you eat that, I'm to the point that I think someone said that water is not good for you.
I know.
It's just
We just got to do
crazy.
our best because I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. So now do you create new friends? How was your social aspect of sobriety? How does it look like now that you've been sober again for a year?
It's a lot smaller than before because most of my friends are virtual now. Um, but I did go back to AA when I got sober this time. I picked up a few of the medallions that you pick up for like month anniversaries. I got a sponsor temporarily, but I don't know. I don't have any problem with it, and I would like to find meetings close by. I just haven't yet. I just haven't. Life got busy, and I've been getting what I need from my recovery community on Reframe. So,
Uh-huh.
um, I think I forgot the question, Abby. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. That if your friends, you're answering it. If your
Yes, yes,
friends,
yes.
your group has gotten smaller. Um,
Yeah, it has, but it's okay.
I still have my friends. I still have all my closest friends, but I've seen that um with other people that were not my real closest friend, maybe I don't go out as much with them, right? Because we no longer
Yeah.
have that. Whoever had a relationship that involved just drinking, most of the time that's not longer there. And I've also seen that I spend more time at home, but happy, not like I'm boring and I'm like, this is boring. I'm bored of my mind and life is miserable. I love it. I
Yeah.
do different things. You get extra time because now you're not at the bars drinking, right?
Save money.
What? You know how much money? Do you have the counter? How much
I
money you have
do.
saved? How much do you have right
I
now?
don't know. I have to look on my phone, and I don't want to mess this up.
Okay.
Uh, but
Okay.
mine's probably a little lower because I always drank at home, and I would just buy cheap bottles of liquor, and it's just me and a bottle of liquor drinking. So at least I didn't
Oh,
have to like
okay.
spend money out, you know?
Yeah. Well, I cannot say the same thing. I went out to a lot of restaurants and not necessarily I was looking for like happy hours. Wherever I will be, I will go for it. And I will say
Yeah.
the average here in Orlando, probably it's like $13, $15 per drink, right? In these restaurants and stuff like that. So I
Yeah.
think 16 months, I think I'm at $20,000.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
That's a lot of money. It just drinks. And that's
Wow.
because I put an average of what it was.
Right.
Because think about it, it adds up $13, $15. And, let's say some of them are $10, but there's some other places here that it's like eight. I've seen drinks that are up all the way to $25.
Wow. And we're not
So
just getting one.
yeah, that's not happening. So you know that. And then you get, and then you want other people to drink with you. And I was that person too. Like, yes, another round for all of us. Like, we all get to sharing, it's caring. But I definitely have saved money. Um, okay. And what advice will you give someone who's starting to consider an alcohol free life?
I would say just learn everything that you can, and And I would also say that I've tried recovery a lot of different ways. And in my experience, I have never been able to do it alone. So whatever you do, don't do it
Mhm.
alone, because so much
Yeah.
of the healing comes from the recovery of the and the community aspect of recovery, because it's something we all, we all share and can just check it out. It's all.
Yeah, I would say too that I agree with you 100% because the one thing that has kept me from not drinking, it is the community that I built. They have carried me to the toughest time. And if you would have talked to me a year and a half ago, I was going through it. I still haven't shared my story completely, but I give it nips in here and there. Um, but I was going through a really difficult divorce, and so many things. And like you, I used alcohol to cope with it, right? To numb. I used it for everything, let's just say, because I did for celebration. But I know coping, it was my thing. This is like I was that person that did not want to feel the emotions. I wanted by all
Mhm.
means forget about it. So if I had a really bad day, okay, I'm gonna get a bottle of wine type of situation. And the thing is that I was never really a lone drinker. So that's why I go a lot to the bars and spend all that money. It was really difficult. But going back to what I was saying, it's just community is really what keeps you grounded. I would say it's just what keeps you grounded because if not, I think it's very easy if you're alone to go back to your old ways.
Absolutely. That accountability is so helpful in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. AA, I think I've heard so many stories and good ones. And I know there's actually, I don't know if you know about it, there's an AA soon that it's 24 hours. I think it's called
Mhm.
319. And
Yeah.
the other day I went in just to check it out because I'm like, everybody's been talking about it. And I had to, and there was a lady there. She had so much passion. So the way that works in that thing, you probably know, is that they change the moderator every hour.
Mhm.
Okay. Which makes sense. That's what I got from I was there for like 20 minutes. And this lady, she went on with, when I'm talking about passion, she was talking loud and you could feel her emotion. She cried. She said, I would have been dead. I think she was alcohol free 15 months. But you could tell how real and raw she really loved her community. And that touched my heart. I was like, oh, that's amazing. And so many other people and I saw the same way that we are. I saw people
Mhm.
know each other there. And I just think that it's a great opportunity for people to start. I wanted to ask you, how does the sponsor, because I always hear they give you a sponsor. Like, I always, what does a sponsor entails? Like, what is
Yeah.
the
So
flow of it?
it is recommended. A sponsor is just another person who takes you through the 12 steps. So it looks different for a lot of people. Like some people, it's more of like a, for lack of better words, student teacher type of relationship. Some people, like my sponsor that I had for many years, we're just really good friends.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, but not always, but usually it's somebody who's been sober a little bit longer than you or has gone through the steps before you, but not always. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but you usually you would ask somebody. So like if you're new in the program, you would say, "Hey, will you be my sponsor?" They tell you to look for someone who has what you want, the
Okay.
qualities that you want, and then you just ask them. And they say yes or no.
Okay. Do you
And
so?
I love AAs, and I still have, there's at least 5 women I can think of off the top of my head right now that I could call and they would show up at my front door if I needed them. That's the kind of relationships that I made there. And
Wow.
it's a beautiful thing still to this day, even though I don't go to meetings anymore,
Mm-hmm.
those kind of relationships. So it's
Well, that's
absolutely
amazing.
invaluable.
That's
Mhm.
amazing that you can feel that. That's great. Do you saw the show Louder Milk and Netflix?
Mm-mm.
You have to see it. It is regarding AA, but I thought it's super funny. It's only one season. Just watch it. I think it's hilarious. But since this is also a wellness podcast, I wanted to ask you, what are some areas that you think that goes hand to hand with wellness that has flourished? Because when you quit alcohol, you start taking care of your health in that kind of way.
So many things. I automatically lost some weight.
That's
My skin looks completely different. My eyes are like white again, like little things that you don't notice are happening when you're drinking for years or months or whatever. So just physically, my skin's brighter, enough for me to notice.
that's awesome. Well, your
Um,
skin is beautiful. I can see it from here.
Thank you. It's also just, because I want to live and I want to be healthy now and I want to take care of myself and hopefully, do some damage control for the damage I've already done. I'm more motivated to get out and go for walks and go exercise and look at what I'm eating and things like that. Whereas before, when I'm pouring, poison into my body, I'm not thinking about eating enough green beans or broccoli.
That sounds funny. It's true though. And
Yeah.
anyways, if you do, the fact that you're putting a toxin to your body, it
Right.
needs
Cancels it
your
out.
body needs to first take care of the toxin before it gets to the nutrients from your broccoli and your green beans. Anyways, one funny fact about when I used to drink, I don't know if it happened to you. I know it happens to a lot of people. When you go into a binge drink night and then the next day you wake up, right? Let's say you don't have the horrible hangover, but you have this thing that I wanted to eat the like everything needed to
God.
have like fat, saltiness, like it was the Coke, everything, like the
Like
fast food.
McDonald's.
Yes, like Taco Bell. Listen,
Yes.
I don't eat really Taco Bell, and then when I will go and then I will be eating it in the parking lot. I will not even get home. I'm
I
like,
know.
wow, yesterday was a rough night. But we don't see those red flags. So
Yeah.
that is crazy. I have changed a lot of my eating habits. I've always tried to keep a healthier lifestyle, but that was the one thing that I'm like, I'm just bullshitting myself. Yeah, here I am trying to do this, but I'm putting this in my body that for me, it will get me bloated. I don't miss the puffiness of like, that
Yeah.
puffy, like it's a peculiar look. Mhm. That it's like you're swollen, but it's from alcohol. Like you can tell when somebody's just puffy from alcohol, and it's crazy. I hated that look. And then you will get that stomach, it was bloated, and forget about it. It's just not a good thing.
All of it. Horrible.
And we're coming to an end. I wanted to ask you, what does unlocking your full potential looks like in your life today, now that you're an alcohol-free woman?
Unlocking my full potential.
Mhm.
Wow. Well, my goal this year for myself was to live my true, authentic, full self and be unapologetic about it. And because that's something I've learned in recovery this time. And I think if I keep doing that and I keep like empowering myself in that way in all of my interactions, I think it's just going to open a lot of doors. And these are things that I wouldn't even be able to think about if I weren't alcohol free.
I
So,
like that.
yeah.
That's amazing. Look where being alcohol free has gotten me to the point that now here we are, you and I talking in the Sober and Wellness podcast. I mean,
Crazy.
yeah, it's crazy I just want people to know that after the darkness, because let's be honest, it's a rough road at the beginning. You have to be committed to being sober. And that's why you don't do it alone. But once you push through and you go through those dark moments, like, yes, you're going to see the light and you will start, you will still like, you will start enjoying other things. You will create things. For me, it's like your mind just opens up to possibility because you're no longer like a zombie. I feel like
Yeah.
alcohol just put people in a state of like, you're kind of you're distracted. Alcohol was
You're
the
in a
biggest
blur,
distraction.
like a fog.
Like a fog, exactly. So I think for me, one of the message that I want to say is that giving the opportunity to be alcohol free, it's like unlocking your full potential and giving you the opportunity to see the woman that you were created to be. when you take that away. It's
Yeah.
just fascinating because I've seen it. I've seen so many people in our community that have done great things, businesses. We hear like the lawyers and all, because people think alcohol, like an alcoholic person, it's somebody that it's broke, that it's like really
Hmm.
bad, and
It's
that's really
everybody.
like that's not really the full blown of the aspect of the people that are really having issues with alcohol. It's more you're functional alcohol. Let's call functional alcoholics or whatever. I don't know.
And we're from all walks of life. It
Yeah,
does not discriminate.
it doesn't. And in the church too. Talking about church, that's one of the things that I want to reach. I want to reach the women that the Christian inspired women that are in church and they feel like I'm gonna be condemned. I'm gonna go to hell, and then they don't do anything and they keep being stuck in that cycle. And no, it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be. It doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
So, Steph, thank you so much for being part of the podcast. I really appreciate you. I think your story it's inspiring, and it will inspire other people. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. And guys, that brings up to the end of today's show. If you're inspired to take action and you need one-on-one or anything like that, just feel free to message me. My stuff will be down below in the show notes. So we can do a free discovery call and see how I can help you. So thank you so much. Thank you, Steph. And I see you
Thank you.
guys in the next episode.